I second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? So, again, from the top, Deputy Mayor Laundrie, are you in favor?
Okay, so are we in discussion now about the amendments to this electronic meeting procedure?
We can be.
Or are we just right now agreeing to move it to the top? Is that what we're voting on right now?
Yes, we're just moving it on into the slot that we can deal with this from a formality standpoint. So there will be. You're supporting it, Frank?
I'm supporting it. Yeah.
Councillor Densham, are you okay with this? Councillor Densham, can you hear me?
I'm in favor.
Steve, you're in favor. Thank you. Councillor Douglas.
Yes.
Councillor Villeneuve.
Yes.
Okay, it's carried. Okay, so we now have a motion that be it resolved that the agenda be approved as amended. I need a mover, please. Where was I? Councillor Douglas, would you move this for me, please?
Yes, I move.
Councillor Villeneuve, can you second?
Yes, I second.
Thank you. So, any discussion on this? Again, like we'll be bringing this up in a minute as far as why we're doing it. This is just the political procedure. Hearing none, Deputy Mayor Laundrie, are you in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Densham.
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Douglas.
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Villeneuve.
Yes, in favor.
Thank you. That's carried. Okay. So this is the bylaw that we've moved to the top of the agenda so that we can proceed with this meeting electronically.
Is now joining.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 18-2020, being a bylaw to amend procedural bylaw number 38-2015 to permit electronic virtual meetings, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this first day of April 2020. Can I have a mover? Deputy Mayor Laundrie?
Yes, I will move.
And a seconder, Councillor Densham?
Yes, I second.
Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, it's Councillor Villeneuve.
Yes?
Just a quick question. This is only to permit for our bylaw to have electronic meetings on emergency only or completely moving forward?
Eric Villeneuve.
We'll add that to
Is
the
now
resolution,
exiting.
or to the bylaw, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
This is Deputy Mayor Landry.
Yeah. Just a minute, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Villeneuve's comment, electronic, I'll just read you the subsection, Councillor Villeneuve. It says, electronic participation shall be permitted for council members and the general public during periods at time where an emergency has been declared to exist in all or part of the municipality. So I believe there's no amendment required given the context that's already in there. So are you okay?
It should reflect the legislation that was passed recently by the Ford government and reflect the act, to reflect
Yes.
it specifically, because it's only referring to emergency situations in the act.
Yes, and that's what it does. It says under Section 4 or 701 of the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act.
Okay.
As amended.
Through the chair, when that was drafted, Councillor Villeneuve, it was extracted right from the act, so it's verbatim.
Okay. So, sorry, Deputy Mayor Laundrie, did you have a comment?
Yeah, so my comment is I don't have an issue under the circumstances. this is needed. It does mention in the 4.18 about the time of an emergency that has been declared. So that's all fine. My only concern is in regards to the closed meeting. I would request to get a little bit more because of the circumstances dealing with closed and not the elements of being in secluded or not. So I would have concern agreeing moving forward with the closed meeting, but no issues with the public aspect of it.
We're not, at this point, we're not dealing with closed meetings in this bylaw, but Craig has some updating on that.
Go ahead, Craig, please.
Through the chair, the original drafting did include both open council and closed meetings. I believe that was amended. Is that correct, Mary?
Yes. Yes.
So just for clarification, this bylaw pertains only to non-closed meetings. So like our regular agenda, it has no impact. We'll have to provide direction in the future as to how we want to handle closed. Is that okay with?
Yeah. Well, we're not dealing with it now. So for tonight, I'm okay in public meetings, so we're good. We should be good, unless anybody else has other comments.
Well, I have a comment. It's Randy.
Certainly.
Okay.
Just Randy, just for sake, I'll let you go ahead, but I'll try and do this in order so that everybody can know when they're coming. But go ahead now, and then I'll go to Steve and then to Roxanne.
Okay. So on the council package that the council package that I first referred to like closed was in there. So then is and again I don't know enough about the PDF, like how all that works, but in the PDF I'm reading, has that been closed? Like we can be sure that the document, like the agenda package, has all been updated. That like it's one thing to hear verbally that the word close has been omitted, but I just want to make sure, like as I scan through the package I'm reading from, that's all.
Yes, we're amending Article 2.3 of Bylaw 3815 to show that electronic participation means a council or committee member who participates in a council, committee of the whole, or committee meeting remotely via electronic means and has the same rights and responsibilities as if they were physically in attendance. So, which includes the right to vote. So the words closed meeting are not in that section 2.30. Electronic participation does not refer to closed meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Densham, do you have a comment?
Yeah. Actually, I see if you look in Article 2, at least if it's the same document I'm looking at, 4.18B, it does say at the very end of that statement, and or closed meetings. So I'm wondering whether it does. And the reality is, I'm okay to approve this to include closed meetings, but that doesn't mean we have to do a closed meeting. If at any point as a council, I think if we decide that it might be more appropriate to hold a closed meeting, or either wait until we can or find a different means. It doesn't force us to have a closed meeting by teleconferencing if council is not. It just permits us, if we have a situation or a closed meeting topic that we feel comfortable managing through teleconferencing, this will just give us the flexibility to be able to do so at that time.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Villeneuve?
Yeah, no, my understanding is that it does include closed session meetings as well as any meetings, whether it be part of the board or part of the council. So I would like to see it added in there because we don't know how long this COVID is going to last. It could last months, and we have many closed items, subject matters that need to be dealt with. So I'm recommending that we include closed session items.
Okay. So we have to vote on there now in here.
Okay, so just to clarify for everyone, if we pass this bylaw, it currently includes the possibility
Linda
of
Vogel
using this technology
is now
for a closed
joining.
meeting. And it would be, I think, in my estimation, Steve's comment is relevant, that would be under the direction of council agreeing to use the technology given the circumstances we're facing. But that's just my opinion. I have no legal context. So, Frank, do you want to make further comment on this, or is there someone else that would like to add to it, Randy? Or
I can go. Do I have the floor, Mr. Mayor?
Please. Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
Okay. So I will add to that. So Steve makes a good point in respect to depending on what it is that we're dealing with. I just want to make sure that each closed meeting has its own entity that we're dealing with. Will we have basically a vote to determine if we are going to move into close through through a conference call, or if council wishes not to? Is that going to be the choice that we will have at that time?
Yeah, I think the smartest thing to do there is to have a vote to make sure that all councillors are unanimously in favor of having a closed electronic meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas?
Yeah, so I'm still, it's a bit of a gap. So when I asked about this, I thought Mary implied that closed had been removed, but then Councillor Densham has now said that he did find closed in the package that we're actually voting on. So point one is I'm actually now uncertain whether, is that correct what Mary said, that closed was not in this bylaw as presented, but then Councillor Densham has found that the word closed is in there?
Yes, you're right. The intent was to remove it, but we got a little nutsy today and it did not get removed. So if council wishes to leave it in there and we still have to have a unanimous vote to go to closed, I think that would cover it.
Okay, so is unanimous vote to go to closed, is that in what we're voting on then?
Through the chair, Councillor Douglas, it does say electronic participants shall be permitted, so it gives council the flexibility to participate in a closed session electronically. That's at their discretion. And one more item, when this was originally drafted, the documentation or the wording was pulled right from the regulatory framework. It's not administration's job to determine what should or shouldn't be in it. I wanted to provide all of the information to council to digest and then make a decision. Various councils are using their discretion to either have open, closed, or both. So that's certainly open for discussion.
Councillor Douglas, did you care to comment there?
No, I think we'll go to vote. I'll put it back to the mayor to.
Okay,
so just allow Councillor Villeneuve. Is everybody clear on what we're doing here?
I'd like to see the word closed meetings added to that item. Yes.
It's already there, Councillor.
Okay, then yes.
Okay.
So I know it's the third, Mr. Chair. Can I add? This is Deputy Mayor Landry. Can I just add one comment to this?
Certainly.
We've been jumping around and getting mixed messages here. So by saying about putting it in there, I just do not want. It takes out the aspect of closed meetings. Basically, I could have my own gallery standing behind me here. So it's just to or to certify that we will have each closed session will be deemed or determined by council on specific what we're going into. But mind you, a lot of times we don't know what we're getting into before we actually go into close. So how are we going to proceed and move forward on that?
it's a good point, and perhaps the best way to move forward on this is to provide an amendment that says there must be unanimous consent. Would that address the concerns?
If the opportunity is there for us to do so, yes, but I just don't want to get caught where we are, because this was passed tonight, we are mandated now to deal with a closed session by conference, by teleconference.
I have, it's Councillor Douglas, I have concerns that echo Deputy Mayor Laundrie, that if we potentially are mandating or entrapping ourselves to go into close when it may not be safe, or like the definition of closed has to be more defined as well. Like, it has to be clear what the definition of closed is for electronic.
So the purpose of this bylaw is to allow us to conduct tonight's meetings. Are you comfortable if one of you were to propose an amendment that says it would require council to unanimously support going to close in the event that circumstances dictated? Is that within the realm of expectation for everyone? Councillor Villeneuve, would you be okay with that?
As I explained earlier, we have a lot of issues or items that are for closed session, and my concern is that if we don't, and this goes on for months, the issues that are to be dealt with in closed won't be dealt with. That's my concern.
Okay.
All right, so how about if we add a section 4.18D to this bylaw that states council shall hold a vote and must have unanimous consent prior to having an electronic closed meeting. Now, if there's no unanimous consent, that means the closed meeting will have to be held in person. And we'll have to arrange the council chambers if we're still on a social distancing order. We have to arrange the council chambers in such a way that the distance can be maintained. I think our council chamber is big enough for that.
So do you need an amendment?
Yes.
So can I read that again and then have it proposed as an amendment, and then we'll vote on the amendment, and then we'll vote on the amendment?
Okay. So I'll read that again. 4.18D, this is an addition to the bylaw 18-2020. Council shall hold a vote and must have unanimous consensus prior to having an electronic closed meeting.
Mary, just to add before you go on, Mary, do we not have the thing is if we don't know if we're voting on not knowing what we are going in closed for, how are we going to deem? So it's either we say yes, but if we don't know what we're discussing, the Ombudsman's office has really strict rules on closed meeting, and I find that in closed or teleconferences, it just takes all that out of the equation and basically opens it up to liability. And so we would need to know what again, in closed before and voting on if we proceed for discussion or if we stop there. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, the problem with that, of course, is that, we know that there are only certain reasons that we can go to closed session. Personnel, litigation, land purchases, that sort of thing. So these are we would have to state, if we needed a closed session, we would state to council the reason for going into closed session.
Through the chair, it would be the very high-level traditional responses that we were provided. It would be somewhat vague, as you're aware. Correct. I mean, they're going to be sensitive topics, but we can't disclose the specifics outside of the closed session, so it is a bit of a challenge. Yeah.
But I think the way it's worded, that council retains total control as to whether or not it goes forward. If one of us feels that it's not appropriate, then it stops, and there has to be a public format that we would have to abide by.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, again, I agree with the fact that we don't get to see the agenda until we're in closed meetings, but as soon as we do get the agenda, once we're in closed, if a council member feels that a specific topic on that agenda is too sensitive to continue on in a teleconference, they can always bring it up at that time, and we can vote to not have it as part of the agenda until we can find another forum to deal with it. Might that be another solution here?
Mm-hmm.
That would good.
Deputy Mayor Laundrie, are you okay with that?
Like I said, every case has its, if it's in regards to stuff which is not as contentious versus dealing with individuals is what I'm getting on. But if we deem where it starts and somebody's not comfortable, then it would have to be brought up, put to a vote, deciding if we move forward or not.
That's why I suggested a unanimous vote of council.
Is now joining.
Okay.
But I think we would have to do that. We'd have to do that in the moment once we see the agenda, correct? Because we won't know what the closed meeting is about until we get into close and get a chance to see the agenda items.
That's correct.
We're sort of anticipating the worst case scenario here, and might I suggest that we try and go ahead with this and
with the amendment,
and then if the bylaw needs to be altered, we can source it out and see how other municipalities maybe are addressing it and bring it back if it's not in a comfortable position. Right now, this meeting can't proceed unless we have some element of this passed. We don't have quorum without it. So, any further comment on that, Councillor Douglas or Councillor Villeneuve?
Right. Yeah. So again, the example earlier where Mary referred to it all having come out, but then Councillor Densham finds that it's in that with the best of intentions by staff, we're in a new world here. That my concern is about getting dragged down a rabbit hole because we're trapped by our procedure,
is now joining.
That we have checks and balances because
is now exiting.
If closed isn't defined that and sensitive stuff gets out, then I appreciate everybody's effort in the discussion. I just think we have to be extra careful when it comes to closed meetings going to this format. Thank you.
Okay, so here on 4.18B, where it says committee of the whole and committee and or
unknown
closed
participant
meetings,
is now
we
exiting.
could remove the words and closed, and then add 4.18D to state that council shall hold a vote and must have a unanimous consensus prior to having an electronic closed meeting. So we're not permitting closed meetings unless we have the unanimous consent.
Thank you.
So we can put that to vote.
Okay, so I'll propose the following amendment just for clarification, and then I'll need a mover and a seconder, okay? So is this a two-part amendment?
We can make it as a one part, yeah.
Okay, so the amendment, and Mary's going to be typing this so I don't forget it. The amendment is that under 4.18E, we remove and or closed meetings. And under 4.18D, council shall hold a vote and must have unanimous consensus prior to having an electronic closed meeting. Can I have a mover, please, for that so that we can have discussion? Councillor Douglas, are you prepared to do that?
I'll move that.
Councillor Villeneuve, would you be prepared to second?
Yes.
Thank Thank you. So discussion on the amendment.
Can I go first, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Just to make it simpler, because of the issues that were brought up, can we not just say, to go into closed, we must meet, period? And then there's no questioning on whether we should or shouldn't or unanimous. We go into closed, we go to chambers and have our proper distance.
The Chair, Councillor, there's the limitation of 5 or more for any public assembly. I did have some discussions with our ministry counterparts today, and we're not the only council asking this question, because essentially we would have at least 6 individuals in the room, which would be a gathering, so we'd be one above the 5 maximum permitted. It's a very narrow exemption clause in that new legislation or the new act, and we wouldn't fit within those parameters. At least that's my interpretation. And the ministry representative is still awaiting a response from Toronto, because again, we're not the only council who's asking this question.
Could we have it in an alternative location?
Councillor, it's not determined by the size of the venue. It's determined by the number of participants at the event.
Reiner
is now
but it would
joining.
Be closed, so we know how many would be there.
Correct, and I'm not disputing that, but it says
Unknown
5 or
participant
more
is now joining.
gatherings are not permitted. A closed session of council could be a gathering. I'm not sure how public plays
Unknown
into it, but again,
participant is now exiting.
Provincial counterpart didn't have an answer, and she was hopefully going to get one as soon as possible, but we don't have an answer to that.
Thank
Deputy
you.
Mayor Laundrie. Deputy Mayor Laundrie, did I hear your comment there?
I would be prepared to second Randy's motion that was put forward. The only thing I would follow through, we're not the only municipality with this, I'm sure, with this dilemma, and I would follow through with the ministry, finding out how we can deal with either meeting, which I would support. I know 5's a gathering. You got to look at the circumstances. We're not playing basketball in the parking lot, so let's see if we could I would prefer to meet or get some more information as far as how they would deal closed meetings in teleconferencing. But for the time being, I'm ready to support the motion that we have with article with 2-D.
Okay. So I'd like to call the vote then on the amendment. All right. So everybody's clear of what we're voting on here. We've slashed closed out of 4.18B, and we've added 4.18D, which says we have to have unanimous consensus to move to an electronic closed meeting. Deputy Mayor Laundrie.
Mr. Mayor, are we still in discussion? I'd like to make a comment on it.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I thought we were on discussion before we go to the vote. So I guess what we also discussed is the fact that we can't vote on whether to hold a closed meeting until we see the agenda. So what I think the amendment would have to say is something to the effect that we can open the closed meeting, read the agenda, and then we would have to unanimously agree to the agenda. Otherwise, we'd have to either change the agenda or close the meeting, because we won't know. We can't vote on having a closed meeting until we're comfortable with the agenda.
It's a good point, Councillor Densham. So Mary has just added here.
Upon review of the agenda.
I'm learning all about Robert's Rules of Orders here. So I believe that Councillor Douglas and Councillor Villeneuve moved and seconded. So Mary has put in a comment here to address Councillor Densham's concern, and it would read that Council shall hold a vote upon review off the agenda and must have unanimous consensus to have an electronic closed meeting. So Councillor Densham, are you comfortable with that? Does that address your concern?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Councillor Douglas, are you prepared to allow the amendment to the amendment to go forward?
It's all fine, sure.
Councillor Villeneuve, are you comfortable with the change that's just been made?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to call the vote now. So the amendment, do we need to vote twice?
No.
So we're gonna vote on the entire amendment, okay? So, and then we're gonna have a vote on the bylaw with the amendment. So those in favor of the amendment, sorry, wait a minute. Deputy Mayor Laundrie, are you in favor of the amendment? Yep. Frank? Hello?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I am.
Okay. Councillor Densham, are you in favor?
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Douglas?
In favor.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes.
Thank you. So the amendment passes, and now read the entire thing, and we'll vote on the entire bylaw with the amendment. Actually, Mary just saved my bacon here, so be it resolved that bylaw number 18-20 as amended, being the bylaw to amend procedural bylaw number 38-2015 to permit electronic virtual meetings, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this first day of April 20th, 2020. We already have it.
Call the vote.
So yeah, we're going to call the vote on this because we already have this by Deputy Mayor Laundrie and Councillor Densham. Deputy Mayor Laundrie, are you in favor of the bylaw as amended?
Yes, I am in favor. Just a quick notice, though, the date at the bottom, I'm not sure if I see the 14th day of April, so that should be rectified. But I'm in favor, yes.
Yeah, and actually, sorry, Mary stroked that out, so it is in as April 1st. Councillor Densham, are you in favor? Thank you. Councillor Douglas?
In favor.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes.
Thank you. Bylaws carried. Thank you, everybody. Okay, now we can start the meeting. In disclosure of pecuniary interest, and again, I'll have to call it from the top. Deputy Mayor Laundrie, any disclosure?
Nope.
Councillor Densham?
No disclosure.
Councillor Douglas?
None.
Councillor Villeneuve?
No.
Thank you. So the motion now moves to the minutes of the March 10th, 2020 meeting. Be it resolved, the minutes of the March 10th, 2020 meeting be approved as presented. Can I have a mover? Councillor Douglas? Would you
Yes.
move this? Thank you. Councillor Villeneuve, would you second?
I second, but I have a comment.
Okay. Discussion? Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes, if you recall, Mr. Mayor, at that meeting, under section 2 of the minutes, amendment to the agenda, addition or deletion, I was the one that had requested that the vote be recorded. My name is omitted, and I voted against. As well as section 3, adoption of the agenda, I had asked for a recorded vote, and I voted against, and my name is completely omitted from there.
You did not abstain, Roxanne, you abstained from voting. So an abstention does not record a vote.
But an abstention is a no, right?
It's considered a no vote when it comes to count, but when you abstain from voting, your vote is not recorded because you are not voting. So if you decide to abstain from voting, that means that your vote is not recorded anywhere. There is no vote.
Where is that in the procedural manual? Because my understanding is that abstaining is a no.
For counting purposes, you're correct. But when it comes to recording a vote, if you don't vote, there's no record of that vote. You abstain.
I'd like to move on here, and we can clarify this at the next meeting if you want to go back to the procedural bylaw.
Through the chair, the definition under the procedural bylaw, abstention means a refusal to vote either for or against a proposal.
And that's not recorded in the minutes.
No, it's not. Because you refuse to vote.
The motions both carried, so I'd like to move on. Do we have any other further comments in regards to the minutes of March 10th?
Is now joining.
Deputy Mayor Laundrie, do you have any further comment?
I'm good.
Councillor Densham?
No further comment.
Councillor Douglas?
No, thank you.
Councillor Villeneuve, are you satisfied that if we clarify this?
No, but you want to move on, Mr. Mayor, so I will allow that to happen.
All those in favor? Wait, sorry. I'm losing it here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What did I just do?
We're just going to vote now.
Okay, so the vote now is to, for the minutes of March 10th to be approved as presented. So, Deputy Mayor Laundrie, are you okay with that?
Yeah, do you have a mover on it?
Yeah, it's Councillor Douglas and Councillor Villeneuve. This is the vote.
I'm in safe. I'm good. Yeah.
Councillor Densham?
Yes.
Councillor Douglas?
Yes.
Councillor Villeneuve?
No.
Okay.
No. So you say.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Now, in the next minutes, Roxanne, because you voted no, it will show in the minutes.
So we'll move on to Article 6 on the agenda, the reports, and this is where we've got 5 different elements in here. So the employee benefit plan, group benefits plan is next, and I'll read the motion. We'll take a mover and a seconder, and then we'll have discussion. Be it resolved that Council receives the report of the CAO Clerk, Craig Calder, for the Group Benefits Plan and hereby authorizes that the Township of North Stormont proceed to join the county-wide plan with Mosey & Mosey effective January 1st, 2021. Further, Council authorizes the 50% of the premium savings be shared with the municipal staff. Can I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Laundrie.
I will move it.
Councillor Densham, would you be prepared to second?
Yes.
Thank you, and I've asked Craig to make a few comments just to add context before we go to open discussion by council.
Through the chair, this will be a fairly brief overview of content already in the report. Estimates are, at least for this calendar year or the next calendar year, that the municipality can save $23,000 approximately with their benefits plan. Of course, this savings will fluctuate on an annual basis. Certainly, the previous benefits plan was a long-standing contract, and it was deemed appropriate that it be reviewed. Which was undertaken. The cost savings, as is indicated, there is a request from the CAO to share with a 50-50 split with the staff. And again, it's as indicated in the report, pooling resources and leveraging group purchasing power has provided these cost savings. So we've just leveraged the buying power of our counties and our other municipal partners that are already in this plan.
Okay, so I'll take comments from council, and I'll start with Councillor Villeneuve.
No comment.
Councillor Douglas.
No, thank you.
Councillor Densham.
No comment.
Deputy Mayor Laundrie.
No comment.
Okay, well then I'll call the vote. If there's no comment, starting at the top. So all those in favor of the resolution. Deputy Mayor Laundrie.
In favor.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Could I have the
Certainly.
vote recorded, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
So it's a different order at the bottom of the page, so I'll start over again. So this is a recorded vote. Councillor Densham, in favor?
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Douglas?
In favor.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Not in favor?
Deputy Mayor Laundrie?
In favor.
And I'm in favor as well, so the vote carries. Thank you. The 2020 insurance renewal. So the motion reads as follows: be it resolved that council approves the renewal package for the 2021 for the municipal insurance package as submitted by Halpenny Insurance Brokers. Can I have a mover? Councillor Douglas.
Yes, I move.
Councillor Villeneuve, would you second?
Yes.
Discussion.
Is now exiting.
So,
Yeah,
Councillor
Mr.
Villeneuve.
Mayor? Oh, sorry.
Councillor. Sorry, I said I would follow the format. I'll start again. Councillor Villeneuve, do you wish to comment?
No comment.
Councillor Douglas?
Yeah, could we have a summary from about the background?
Through the chair, and Mary can interject. This was unfortunately, Carolyn was going to be here as our broker to provide a detailed overview. Certainly if council wishes to have her present, we can, I guess, ask her to come back once the situation changes and we can have open council meetings. This reflects essentially our previous insurance coverage. But I'm certainly not in a position as an insurance expert to provide a detailed overview to council on the content.
Okay, so just to continue, Mayor Wirt, is that okay?
Certainly.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if there were any glaring, like any major changes to the coverage, or it's pretty much same thing as previous year.
Through the chair, Mary and I did meet with Carolyn earlier this year, and no, there was no significant changes that I recall. And Mary, can you confirm that?
Yes, there were no changes. The premium did go up about $7,000 over last year's premium, but that was just from the insurance industry. Basically, it's not due to anything that happened here at this municipality.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Laundrie, did you wish to comment?
If I may, yeah. So we've got an increase of $7,000. Is that basically just cost of doing business, or is there, like, I know not everything comes through council as far as the smaller, but is there anything inside that year that we've dealt with that had any impact on that increase, or is that just a basic standard yearly thing?
That's correct, Frank. It's all just the insurance industry. It's nothing to do with any experience here at the township.
Yeah, there was no extraordinary circumstances, Deputy Mayor, that would account for that increase, no.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I believe everyone's had a chance to comment on this. I'll call the vote. So Deputy Mayor Laundrie.
No, Mr. Mayor, sorry, I didn't get a chance to ask a question.
Sorry, Councillor Densham. Go ahead, please.
No problem. So it's approximately a $7,000 increase. What is the total then? What percentage increase is that?
Oh.
Just a second.
I would have to do a calculation, Councillor Densham. I don't know off the top of my head what percentage increase that is.
Okay. I don't think it'll change my vote. I'm just really was curious to see how big the increase was relative to our current spend.
We didn't do that calculation, sorry.
Okay.
But about 6%.
can obtain that for the next meeting for you, Steve, if, or Councilor Denchman.
Yeah, or if just want to send me an email or whatever, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, that'd be about 5%, would it not?
Yeah, I think we're speculating right now. So let's confirm this whenever we've had a chance to go over the premium and do the math. So Deputy Mayor Laundrie, are you in favor?
In favor, yes.
Councillor Dencham?
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Douglas?
Yes.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes.
Thank you. It's carried. Okay, so we now move to the Treasurer's report, and Carly has provided us with budget options, and Carly is on the line. We don't have an option here. Okay.
It's in the other report. Do you have that, Carly's report? Craig?
Unknown participant is now joining.
This one here.
There it is, yeah.
It's on the back of the sheet.
Sorry, Council. My bookkeeping needs a little bit to be desired here. I'm not the most organized. So the motion reads as follows: that be it resolved that Council approves the 2020 budget as submitted by Treasurer as per option number. And you have options, I believe, in your agendas pertaining to three elements. There's a tax levy increase at 3%, a tax levy increase at 5.76%, and hold the resident tax rate, which is the one that's recommended by Carly. So in order to start this procedure, I think I'll allow comments, and then we'll pick a number and debate. So,
if I may, Mr. Mayor, I do have an explanation that Council may want to hear about each of the options.
Please.
Okay. So I just wanted to highlight some of the changes that were made to the second draft to the third draft. In Public Works, we added $50,000 to the salt dome, and that was through a drawdown from road reserves. In Recreation, we removed the generator of $60,000, and that's to be deferred to 2021. We added $35,000 for a new condenser at the arena, and we also added $10,000 to the fire alarm system, and that's to be installed at the arena. Now, in reference to the chart that I provided, option 2 is where we currently stand. So this is what I presented for the second draft budget. And just to reiterate from our last budget meeting, after adjusting for our OMPF shortfall of 3%, I noted here that our actual tax levy increase was 2.755%. Due to our increase in assessment, our residential tax rate will decrease at 1.2%, and the monthly residential tax bill for a typical resident is estimated to be an additional $1.56 to $2.20 per month. With this option, I also wanted to note that the modernization funding ending balance would be approximately $275,000. For option 1, as requested, it presents a tax levy increase of 3%. So this levy increase would only cover the OMPF shortfall that we're experiencing. It does not consider the cost of living for our operational expenses. It does, however, offer the typical resident relief from seeing any increase on their tax bill with a decreased residential rate of 3.78%. But in order to provide this, the township would be in a position to further cut approximately $80,000 from the current budget. And in order to make this happen, I had conversations with Public Works, and we would recommend the following projects to be postponed. the asphalt overlay for Chrysler Moose Creek, the Avonmore sidewalk reconstruction, and also the transfer to reserves budgeted for Chrysler's bathroom renovations. I also wanted to highlight here that there's an opportunity cost of maintaining our roads, that $50,000. Through asset management, we should be spending earlier rather than later at a higher cost. And then the last recommendation here was to hold the residential rate. So this will give us a tax levy increase of 7%. And of course, it'll also maintain our tax rate, which is currently 0.348701. This option is recommended if council would like to go forward with all the capital projects that are currently proposed, and to also replenish the modernization fund with an additional $37,000 in revenue. So the ending balance of this fund would then be approximately $310,000, which can be put aside for any outstanding capital or strategic plan initiatives at council's discretion. With this option, however, the typical resident would see an approximate increase of $2.28 to $3.22 per month on their tax bill. But I would also like to note that even with the disadvantage we're faced with in regards to the OMPS, this option is still in line with the average increases we're seeing across SD&G. So with that being said, I just wanted to provide that information that you've requested, and then the information you need in order to come to a decision for our final budget. So Finance would like to seek council's input and, of course, the recommendation on which of the three options we're to move forward with. Thank you.
Thanks, Carly. That's a very well presented option choice for us. And if I can just add to that, Carly's also provided us, and I believe everyone has had the charts that compare the 6 municipalities in SD&G and the counties as far as what they've done with tax levy increases and change in tax rate. So I will take comments starting with
Unknown
Deputy Mayor
participant is now
Laundrie in
joining.
regards to his feelings on this matter. And as I said, after everyone's commented, I'll ask for someone to move an option. We'll second that and then have further discussion and hopefully provide Carly with some direction on this, because we. So, Deputy Mayor Laundrie, do you wish to comment, please?
Okay, so I've had many thoughts on how we could go about dealing with this. My one concern right now is that what we are going through right now as far as this COVID. We're all aware of the ask coming from food banks. So there is many people, I believe, that will be needing every dime basically to put food on the table. This is a time where I don't know if I'm prepared to go to the 3, but I would possibly look at maybe potentially 4. I would not go to 5.76, but if I do a 4% or 4.2, which would give us a little over 30,000, possibly that would help out the people that are most vulnerable in request of these asks for a food bank and so on. So I'm sort of mixed feelings, but I would go between option 1 and 2, which would be around the 4.2%.
Councillor Densham?
Yeah, again, if you'd asked me a month and a half ago before COVID hit, I think I'd be for option 2, but now I'm leaning pretty heavily on option 1. I mean, right now, people and businesses are likely to be suffering from a lower income to draw against. And everything's really a mix-up right now. I think stability is very much welcomed by the public right now, and I think a stable tax bill year over year with option 1 it would be welcome. I know when we look at some of the other options, the dollar value per month sounds low, but it's still a percentage, right? If every bill went up by a couple of bucks, it'd still end up being like a 7% inflation on everything that you paid for. I'm also looking at next year, the fact that we're hoping to see a significant difference in our GFL revenue, and also I think the OMPF is bottoming out. We might see another 20K come off us, but that's much less than the 100K we've been suffering, if my calculations are right. So, I think stability is kind of what people need, and we need to be sensitive to people's financial and economic stress right now. And like I say, I think we've got a good year shaping up next year, and hopefully we'll be able to do some really good things next year.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas?
Yes, thank you. A certain amount of this discussion is kind of academic because the percentage of our residents who are now financially struggling has just gone up several times. So we don't know a year from now what we're going to have in receivables as far as unpaid taxes. I think we have an obligation to be sensitive to all of that, and as well, just to take the discussion in another direction, I'm just wondering, having mentioned I've been on the recycling issue for a couple of years, is that if Blake is in the room, is there a way we could redefine our recycling services where we could save $75,000? And so again, I'm very sensitive to keeping this tax increase to a minimum, and as well wondering if there's room to drastically change our recycling program.
It's Blake here. I don't see any possibility of reducing that rate. Municipalities are trying to do the same thing. Like I presented before, it just costs us more to do the same recycling job. But in 2023, hopefully we'll be the first to be able to opt out of doing the recycling process and collection, and be up to the producers to manage the recycling program. That's the best I give you now.
So there's no way, Blake, that we are able to withdraw recycling services to residents by just having off like a depot to dump off, or to just add it to their waste?
The government made legislation that we have to collect, because we're over 5,000 residents in the municipality. So unless we can convince the government to exempt us from having curbside collection, I don't see any possible savings on our curbside collection process right now.
Craig, is that a possibility that it could be looked into, or do you think that it would be futile to even go down that path?
Just a point of clarification from Blake. Is there an ability for us just to incorporate the recycling materials into the waste, or do we have to have the recycling program in place until 2023? I thought we had some flexibility. We didn't have to have a recycling program in place as long as we were picking up with the curbside waste and we just go into the landfill.
I don't think we can do that. I don't know if you heard it, but I don't think we can actually landfill our recycling. It's government legislation that we have to collect curbside recycling products. That is legislated as items that we have to pick up.
And you still have to do your yearly report to WWO.
Yeah. Any further comments? Thank you. Roxanne?
Yes. So I'm not sure where Councillor Douglas stands with his choice, but I would certainly opt for item number 1 and keeping the tax rate at 3%. I've been watching every day, and I'm sure many of you have been watching Premier Doug Ford and Prime Minister Trudeau with their announcements every day, and the forecast right now is looking pretty grim as far as finances go. and the uncertainty of the times right now, I recommend that one-time funding that we received last year of $548,000 be utilized for specific, to be a reserve fund for COVID, because we don't know what the future holds. And remember, this was one-time funding for us to be able to utilize as we see fit. And I'm certain that our constituents in North Stormont are going to need help. Deputy Mayor Landry mentioned the food bank, and I know that I've posted in support of the food bank with my social media, and I think we need to keep that $548,000 minus the $7,800 that has been already utilized for our strategic planning. We need to keep that as reserve, and we need to remove, or look elsewhere for items such as perhaps the money for the salt dome. Maybe we could do that another year. And there's other examples that Carly mentioned earlier that I don't believe are absolute emergencies at this present time, considering the situation we're in. So my recommendation, keep the tax rate levy as low as we can for this year. Keep that $548,000 as a reserve fund. Thank you.
Okay, so just to clarify, we're looking at the three options that we asked Carly to provide for us tonight, and I'll make a few comments in regards to them as well. I think the consensus here is that we're in a very unique period with very unique challenges, and the one thing I'd like to point out is that I have complete faith in Carly's projection that there's going to be a surplus brought forward which may allow us to address some of the deficiencies. But my recommendation is that we take article number 1 and run with it, and there's going to be unprecedented support coming forward by governments, to stimulate the economy, and I think we would be well positioned to take advantage of that when it comes forward and minimize the impact to our taxpayers. So with that, I would be prepared to motion, please, that we opt for one of these three motions. So, Councillor Douglas, I believe you're next up on the docket. Would you be prepared to provide a number for us here, please?
I'll move the option 1.
Okay, and Councillor Villeneuve, would you be prepared to second?
Yes, I second.
So discussion on that, Deputy Mayor Andre?
I'm okay with that. My intention with the 1% higher increase was we have to set aside money for the food bank. The ask has been made, and due to the fact that we are in budget process, it's just that is nowhere in there anywhere. That my way of thinking was that 1% would take the whole 6,800 people in our municipality to absorb that 1% to basically help out the more vulnerable. So, but I will support option 1. Like I said, we have to tend to what we're dealing with here.
Yeah, and if I can just add to that, I've asked Mary and Craig to give us a report on the 14th of April in regards to the food bank. We received a request yesterday from Castleman. We already have one on the books pertaining to North Dundas. There's some corporate identities that may be part of that solution, but we're certainly going to deal with that at the next meeting, and I'm sure we're going to do our best to address that need. So, but your comments are well made. Councillor Densham?
Yeah, no further comments. As I said, I supported number 1, and I agree with Councillor Villeneuve's comment on the modernization fund. We will still have that at our disposal should there be emergencies that need to be looked after as well.
Okay, Councillor Douglas, anything further to add?
Just that the food banks their needs are real, but we also have fantastic volunteers in North Stormont that hopefully we'll find a way.
Thank you. Councillor Villeneuve, any further comments? And then I'm going to call Thank you. Deputy Mayor Landry in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Densham in favor?
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Douglas?
In favor.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes.
Thank you. That's carried. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to note the fact that it took us longer to figure out how to have an electronic meeting than to pass the budget this evening.
I think that's a reflection of the chair more than the content.
It's all good.
Okay, so we've been provided with the COVID-19 action plan, and this motion pertains to receiving that report. So be it resolved that Council received the report number PW-008-2020 from the Public Works Department regarding the COVID-19 action plan for information purposes. Can I have a mover? Deputy Mayor Landry?
I'll move it, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Densham?
Yes, I second.
Discussion, starting with Deputy Mayor Landry. Any comments?
So this here, I see it's labeled under the Public Works employees. Does that fall under, say, our CBO and other aspects of as far as bylaw and so on?
Through the chair.
Unknown participant
yes,
is now exiting.
We're having daily meetings, and I think all council is obviously aware of the daily updates that I provide to the elected officials. But we did meet with staff, and we worked out or implemented, the introduction of mitigation strategies specific to the office. Now, currently, we're working remotely as much as possible to minimize spread, of course, and interactions at the office. But the report that was completed by Public Works is specific to their essential service workers. So it's separate and independent, and we did try to be flexible and strategic with any implementation because our office needs are different than our Public Works needs. So we did solicit everybody's input, and yes, to make a short answer longer, yes, we've implemented items for not only the office, but separate independent strategies for Public Works, yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Densham, any questions?
No questions. Just thanks to staff for being flexible and continue to stay safe.
Councillor Douglas?
No, thank you.
Councillor Villeneuve?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll take the vote, please. Deputy Mayor Landry in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Densham?
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Douglas?
Yes.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes.
Thank you. Carried. Emily 911. Be it resolved that Council receives and approves the report on Emily 911 as presented. Councillor Douglas, would you be prepared to move that?
Yes, I move.
Councillor Villeneuve, will you second?
Yes, I second.
Discussion starting at the top again. Deputy Mayor Landry, any comment?
I'm just rereading through. I thought there was a date that was where it had a time frame as far as the funding that came through. And if I recall, I went and tried to find my county's notes, but I thought it was basically $5,000 was given to each municipality, and we dispersed it as we seen fit. And I didn't think that a timeline was a factor. Can Craig possibly add to that?
Through the chair, Deputy Mayor Landry, yes, the start date or effective date for this, it was agreed upon by all that it would be April 1st. You are correct, the counties did commit $30,000 county-wide, so each municipality would get a $5,000 allotment, and it was also agreed that we would pay 50% of the municipal cost for one of these signs.
Unknown participant is now exiting.
So if I may add, could we, because it says here that the new signage will be subsidized until December 2020. Are we committing that if it goes above that?
You are correct that the threshold was from April 1st for the subsidy until December 31st of this calendar year, yes.
Okay, but do we go up until the 5,000 is spent, or are we going to have to come up with money at our end if we get more people coming forward for signs?
Well, we would, the township or each individual township, if we exceed that $5,000 threshold, then yes, we would have to make up that difference, correct?
Okay. My understanding was we could commit up to so the people that are coming forward commit to the 5,000, but this could potentially affect our budget, not knowing how many people will be coming forward. As far as being the big agricultural community, we could potentially have a lot of requests for this.
Yes, correct, Councillor, our Deputy Mayor, and I believe Andre may be on the line to provide his comments. But again, we would be subsidizing 50% of the signage, which is about $130. So it would be about $60 per request up until December 31st. So
that takes us a long way.
Andre, are you there? Do you wish to comment?
Yes, I'm here, Jim. So the way I see it, the resolution from the county says that they would subsidize up to $5,000, but I believe it would be to the first come first serve till December 31st. Yes, that's the way I understand the resolution here from the county.
Correct. It says to relate to the issuance of the signage and invoice the county at the end of the calendar year, which would be December 31st, to a maximum of $5,000. Right. So on or before the 31st of December, if we exceed that, I suppose that the
unknown participant is now exiting.
Subsidy ends.
Lapses.
So I will defer to Andre's reading of that.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Landry, are you okay there?
Okay, Craig didn't come clear, but you're looking at 83 members of the community coming forward to request a sign will eat up the 5,000. My only concern was at the counties, the way it was mentioned through all of county council was we would subsidize the project up to 5,000. So basically on a first come, first serve and not allocate any more from our budget to do the extra. It would fall back to 132 after that.
Correct.
That's right.
That is for pre-existing locations. It's a voluntary participation for existing properties. Moving forward, it will be mandatory for any new entrances. Andre, did you want to interject on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. So any new location, the owner would pay the full price, and for the existing entrance for farm-related activities, then the county would pay 50% of the civic folks.
Correct.
And if I could just interject, and I think it would be a worthwhile exercise to suggest to the Federation, so that's the Stormont Federation of Agriculture, that they could be an active partner in this, perhaps picking up where we leave off after the 5,000 is spent, if we exceed it, because it certainly falls within their mandate as well. So I would ask that maybe we reach out to them and see whether or not they have any interest on it. This is a very high-profile project, and they may be interested in being a dominant partner.
Agreed.
Okay.
That'd be great.
All right, Councillor Denton, do you care?
Just one question: how do we intend to communicate this and let people know once we pass this?
Through the chair, we can post it. We can post a message on our township webpage, and I'll certainly ask Nancy Ann to promote it through Facebook as well.
And again, if we're reaching out to the Ag Federation, I wonder if they would help notification as well, just through whatever mechanisms they use today to communicate.
Yeah, we can certainly do that because they have a mailing to their membership, which are all the farmers that are are recognized as status. So it's a good suggestion. Anything further, Benson? Is that okay?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Douglas?
It's all fine. Just on the bylaw itself, page 47, we've got it down as April 14th, but that's all.
I think it's been changed in our end already, so
okay.
Thank you. Councillor Villeneuve, do you wish to comment?
Yeah, so I've been approached by numerous farmers within the township to have an update on this, and I appreciate your suggestion, Mr. Mayor, that we include the Stormont Federation of Agriculture to be a huge part of this. Now, are we going to consult with them before we adopt this move, or are we adopting this and then consulting with them? Because I don't think that would make much sense. Because the numbers and figures are already within this setup, but they might have a better proposal.
Through the chair, the enactment date or the agreed upon enactment date with the rest of our municipal counterparts will be April 1st, hence the timing of this report. I guess it's at council's discretion, but of course we can't implement this on the agreed upon date if we don't get council approval. Andre, do you have any comments from a CBO perspective?
Well, I don't see why we couldn't approve this bylaw anyway, because we're getting a stamp with the counties, first of all, and any additional money, then we could prolong our subsidized 50% after the counties the monies are ran out.
Yeah.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay. I guess further to that, I think we're coming into the season probably where these things are going to be most use. So I would suggest that it would be prudent to move this forward and then follow up with the Federation and see whether or not we can have a partnership there. So is that okay, Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes.
Okay, I'll call the vote on this, please, then. So Deputy Mayor Landry?
Yes.
Councillor Densham?
Yes.
Councillor Douglas?
Yes.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes.
Thank you. Carried. Thank you, Andre.
Okay.
Barbara Ann Glode.
Okay, so
Is now exiting.
we'll move to bylaws. Accountability and transparency policy. Be it resolved that bylaw number 16-2020 being the bylaw to approve
Sonia.
and
Is now exiting.
sorry. Sorry guys. Be it resolved that bylaw number 16-2020 being the bylaw to approve and accountability and transparency policy be read a first, second, and third time signed and sealed in open council this first day of April 2020. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Douglas.
Yes, I move.
Councillor Villeneuve, would you second?
I do with comment.
Sorry, is that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll take comments on this. Councillor Villeneuve, you can start.
So, first of all, I noticed, Mr. Mayor, it's the accountability and transparency bylaw at page 45 is cut off. So I would ask for this item to be deferred.
It's cut off?
Page 45 at the bottom, it's cut off, and we cannot see it appropriately. Therefore, I ask for this item to be deferred.
Sorry, Councillor, I've got 45 in front of me, and
Civic addressing.
It's the civic addressing. What?
At section 3.2, financial responsibility, page 45.
Page 42.
Well, I have page 45 and it's cut off.
That's what I have as well. It's a newer agenda, I think, than what you may have printed out, Mary and Jim.
Okay, it's not an issue here, but
Let's see what's cut off.
Okay, Elsa?
can we just check and see
Is
how
now
much of it
exiting.
we're actually missing?
So, financial responsibility, is that all there, Roxanne?
No. It's cut off at the second bullet point.
Okay, I'll read section 3.2. Financial responsibility, the Township of North Stormont is accountable and transparent by identifying the source of the township's funds and how those funds are used to deliver services. The following policies and procedures demonstrate the township's financial responsibility. External auditors report, annual financial statements, summary of revenue and expenditures submitted quarterly to council, report on remuneration and expenses of council members, monthly accounts submitted to council for inspection and ratification, and reports of projects to be included in reserves at the end of the year. I think that's all that you're missing there.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I can add for transparency and accountability, since this is the bylaw, I propose that we defer this item until we can clearly see what's there. I know you just read it, Mary, but for sake of transparency and accountability, I asked for it to be deferred so that we can fully see what's there. Thank you.
Well, the rest of the council is going to have to vote on this. This article, this is the bylaw to have passed, so we've already had this in front of us at a previous meeting, right? So I'll take.
Okay.
We've had the draft in front of us, and we've got it moved and seconded. We have Councillor Villeneuve's comments. I'll take comments from the balance of council, and then we'll decide whether we defer. So, Deputy Mayor Landry, do you have any comment and comments to address?
My only comment, I was trying to write with there, so maybe, Mary, I've got the first three. Can you just repeat the last of those bullets?
The first three, so report on remuneration and expenses of council members, monthly accounts submitted to council for inspection and ratification, reports of projects to be included in reserves at the end of the year.
Okay, I'm good, thanks.
There's 6 in total, council, so starting with the one that you can see, external auditors report. The second one is the annual financials. The summary of revenue of expenditures submitted quarterly, the report on remuneration and expenses of council, monthly accounts submitted to council for inspection and ratification, and reports of projects to be included in the reserves at the end of the year.
Is now exiting.
And I think it's a point, Councillor Villeneuve, but to be fair to the process, we have had this previously in front of us. So if you have your computer there, actually, I'm sure you can actually bring that draft up. So anyway, I'd like to proceed just to see whether or not we're going to defer. Councillor Densham, do you have concerns here?
No, as you said, Mr. Mayor, we have a previous copy, and if you just simply go back to the March 10th meeting, you'll see all the bullet points there. So I'm fine to move forward.
Okay. Councillor Douglas, do you have comment here?
Right. We approved the draft policy at that meeting, and given assuming it's sounding like there are no changes at all, so I'm fairly comfortable with it.
Just to interject, Randy, there is one change, and that was at the suggestion of Councillor Villeneuve that the council meetings will be live streamed for further public accessibility. That was added because Councillor Villeneuve suggested it and council agreed. So,
Councillor Villeneuve, are you comfortable that can proceed here, or do you still wish to defer?
I still wish to defer because there are other items that I would like to see on there, as I recommended at the last meeting. I appreciate that you've included that we live stream, but there's no date or time frames or any matrix associated with anything on there. It's fine to have an accountability and transparency bylaw, but there's no matrix, there's no identifying dates that are associated with anything. So that's my addition
Unknown
to it being
participant
cut
is
off.
now joining.
For the sake of transparency and accountability, this is a bylaw that you all want to adopt. And right now, what I'm looking at is not transparent and accountable to our taxpayers. And this has been going on, Mr. Mayor, since September 25th. And I have been asking for it to return to the agenda, and I appreciate it being returned now that it's March and April, but it's still not to what it should be.
So we need a motion to defer. So we have a motion by Roxanne to defer this bylaw. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Is that Councillor Densham, sorry, or Councillor Douglas?
Councillor Douglas.
Okay. Any further comments on Councillor Villeneuve's motion?
Well, it's Councillor Douglas here. The principle is sound that if it's regarding transparency and accountability, and it's cut off on it's kind of a principle of the matter. So I can't argue with it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a seconder on it. I'll call the vote. So Deputy Mayor Laundrie?
I'll go with the majority and not support it. So I'll defer.
Councillor Densham?
Yeah, my assumption was that it wasn't going to remain in its cutoff state, that it would actually be filed in its full state. Is that a safe assumption? I'm sorry, I know I'm supposed to be voting now, but...
Yeah, I mean, the copies that you have, obviously, was an issue, but I mean, the one that's before us is complete, the same as the original draft.
Right. So I'm comfortable with the content. I don't personally see, so I say no, we don't need to defer. I know what the content will be, although we can't read it on this. I know that the final filed copy of our transparency report will not be cut off. It will be full and complete, and being aware of it, I say no to deferring.
Okay, so Councillor Douglas?
Defer.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Defer.
The bylaw is deferred. Do I have to sign this? Okay. Thank you. Okay, city government. So this is pertaining to the Emily discussion we had previously in the Emily 911. So be it resolved that bylaw number 17-2020 being the bylaw to approve a civic numbering system be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this first day of April 2020. And I have a mover. Deputy Mayor Laundrie, would you move, please?
I will move, yes.
And Councillor Densham?
Yes, I second.
So starting at the top for discussion, Deputy Mayor Laundrie, do you care to comment?
No, I'm good.
Councillor Densham?
No comment.
Councillor Douglas?
No, thank you.
Councillor Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry. Do you wish to comment on this?
No.
Okay, so I'll call the vote. Deputy Mayor Laundrie?
Yes.
Councillor Densham?
Yes.
Councillor Douglas?
Yes.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes.
Carried. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Can you take my question, Mr. Mayor?
Okay.
Hello? Just a quick question. Since you are calling each member out with their vote, are you recording every vote, or do we still have to ask for a recorded vote?
No, it's just simply a format that I'm using to make sure everybody has equal opportunity, but we are not recording the votes unless you ask for it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this pertains to the appointment of the CAO. So be it resolved that bylaw number 19-2020 being the bylaw to amend bylaw number 01-2020 to appoint an acting CAO clerk be read a first, second, and third time, signed, passed, and sealed in open council this first day of April 2020. You want to add to this?
Yeah, this bylaw is being amended to reflect the fact that the bylaw 01 rescinded all bylaws prior to, but which had the effect of rescinding the bylaw appointing Craig as the CAO clerk. So the amendment to bylaw 01 is to add the wording, with the exception of bylaw 33/2019, appointing Craig Calder as Chief Administrative Officer Clerk. I don't think that was the intent of council when they passed the bylaw appointing me as the acting clerk.
So just to clarify then, Craig has resumed his responsibilities, and he and Mary are going to define Mary's responsibilities in the immediate future, but Craig is now coming back, and this addresses that resumption. So can I have a mover, Deputy Mayor Landry, please?
I will move it, yes.
Councillor Densham?
Yes, I second.
Okay, discussion coming again from the top. Deputy Mayor Landry, any comments?
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Councillor Densham?
No comment.
Councillor Douglas?
No, thank you.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. With respect to Mr. Calder being our CAO, there's still outstanding matters such as his performance appraisal review that we as council have not had yet. So how can we adopt this amendment when we haven't had a performance review?
Yeah, I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Densham, are we close to having that?
Councillor Villeneuve.
Sorry, it's Councillor Densham that I believe is heading up the appraisal. Councillor?
Yeah, it's almost done. I intend to send it out actually in the next couple of days to council for review. But again, I don't see it as a related item.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I comment?
Certainly.
How can we adopt an amendment to have Mr. Calder as our CAO, not an acting CAO, but as our CAO, without the performance review? He hasn't been hired for 1 year yet. And I can't get into any detail because it's a personnel matter, but we haven't had the opportunity to congregate as a council to discuss his performance review. So us moving forward with this bylaw amendment, has it changed that he is now our CAO? That's not left to one council or two council members. It's council as a whole to decide that.
If I may add, Mr. Mayor, my motion is on the floor, and I believe it's seconded. So I would, because if I look at the situation, Mr. Calder was hired as our CAO back when we hired him. I don't see the
is now
review that will be done does not reflect the role that he takes. It reflects what we deem if he's but what the motion's out there. I believe I would suggest that we bring it. I would propose that we bring it to a vote.
Okay, where was I? So, Frank, you've commented on this. Steve, do you have any further comment before we call the vote?
No comment.
Councillor Douglas?
No, thank you.
Councillor Villeneuve, any further comment?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. When a person is hired, Human Resources Department do a performance review appraisal, okay? We haven't had that. He has had his probationary period, and we have not congregated as a council to have a performance review done after his probationary period, which was quite some time ago now. So I completely disagree with having this bylaw amendment until we meet as a council in closed session to discuss.
Okay, you're making a valid point, but the crux of this challenge before us is the fact that Craig was away from his responsibilities for a short period of time. Okay, and he is now back, and we're simply reinstating what we originally intended to have to do, and I see them as two separate items. And given the complexity of what we're dealing with now, particularly with COVID-19, I think it's very clear that we need to have a distinct line of responsibilities. So your point is well made, and Mr. Dencham has decided that we're going to deal with this as prudently as we can given the challenges, but I don't think that it's connected to what we're trying to do here. So I'm going to call the vote, and would you like this recorded, or are we okay to go ahead? Okay.
Yes.
So, Councillor Dencham?
Yes.
This is Councillor Douglas?
Yes.
Councillor Villeneuve?
No.
Deputy Mayor Landry?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. It's carried. Thank you.
So Francois, for this next bylaw, it says March 29th, but it was March 25th you mentioned this afternoon?
No, I believe that the date for the taxes was March 27th.
27th?
Correct me if I'm wrong. But...
Okay.
This is Carly. The date of the first due date of the installment is March 25th.
Thanks, Carly.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, so this pertains to the extension in regards to the COVID challenges. So be it resolved that bylaw number 20-2020, being the bylaw to amend bylaw number 06-2020 for interim tax due dates, be ready first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this first day of April 2020. And as you all may have deduced from now, we've moved that date back to April 29th in light of the challenges we're all facing. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Villeneuve, would you move this for me?
Yes.
Councillor Douglas, would you second?
I second.
Discussion again from, well, we'll start at the bottom this time, moving up. Councillor Villeneuve, any comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do, actually. So the question I have is, if and when, if COVID is extended for quite some time, over and above April 29th, will we have an opportunity to review this date again, considering that some people are laid off or have lost their jobs and can't afford it? Will we have another opportunity to review this? I know people's taxes have to get paid, but if we can give them a little bit more time, considering that they're saying this could go on for months. Is there an opportunity there to have that date extended?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I can answer Councillor Villeneuve's inquiry. So I've been in contact with our treasurers for SD&G. So far, the end of April still has been the date intact. We also at North Stormont waived any penalty and interest, so our entire calculation also for residents who are in arrears, our interest and penalties are not being calculated for April 1st, so that would help provide relief for our residents. In addition to, we've been, our school board and our county payments were also delayed. So we haven't had any conversations as of yet for April 29th. But to answer your question, I believe that we could have these discussions sooner than later to see if we can potentially move this date as well.
And Carly, do you think that discussion will happen like a couple of weeks before the April 29th, if in fact we move with this?
Absolutely, because we would need to prepare for our PAPs and also our penalties and interest. So we will definitely communicate with the public if there is another change in these due dates.
Could we possibly have that added then, if there's, into this bylaw, that if COVID is extended XXX amount of months, we will relook at this? Can we add a line that would say that?
I don't think we have to add it to the bylaw, but I think that we certainly revisit it, providing that council feels that it's favorable. We're speculating here on all aspects of where we're going, and I understand there's a lot of unknowns, but all we're doing right now is simply saying we're bumping it a month. If we need to revisit this, we certainly have that option.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
So the township is looking at the counties and the school boards because we have our payment due dates as well. So it all has to do about our cash flow. So again, we're just waiting to see if any other due dates are going to be extended, and that will allow us to extend ours as well. But until then, we're not sure as of yet. This bylaw here is just putting into action our delay in our due date from March 25th to April 29th. So both installments are currently due April 29th, and interest and penalty is going to be calculated for May 1st. But again, that could change.
Okay. And a secondary question: are the tax bills pretty much, are they coming in, Carly, or are they not, basically?
Tax payments
I should say, not bills.
Yes, so tax payments are still being processed for our PAPs, our 10 months and our 12 months. Any taxes that were on to be withdrawals on the due date have been deferred to April 29th. But again, we will give advance notice if this date changes once again. And any other payments that come in regarding checks are processed weekly.
Okay. Thanks, Carly.
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas, thank you, Carly. Councillor Douglas, do you wish to comment?
Yeah, my thanks to the staff for being on top of this, and my full faith that if there are ongoing decisions or recommendations to make, that they'll bring them to council. Thank you.
Councillor Densham?
Yeah, I think it's important to get it out there. Not everybody is suffering financial burdens right now. Many people continue to keep their job, are able to work, their income's coming in, and I think, as Carly pointed out, we need the cash flow. So those who are able to pay and let's keep the process running for those, to keep the cash flow going, and if the circumstance is such that certain people need relief, there are probably things we can do by way of, as Carly suggested as well, waiving penalties, et cetera, decisions we can make in the future. So I'm comfortable with the proposal. Thank you.
Yeah. Deputy Mayor Landry, any comment?
Just one from Carly. You mentioned I've seen it on the website, but now I can't, it's not in front of me. But did you say that, so the payment that was moved to April 29th, but are we looking at 2 installments on April 29th?
Yes, that's right. So this bylaw moved our first installment to line up with our second installment due date. So both installments are currently due April 29th. So by doing this, we waived the penalty and interest that was going to be calculated for today. And also it gave residents additional time, and also because residents can't come into the township directly to pay, the accessibility wasn't there.
Okay, it's just that it's sort of, my intent or way of thinking was that it was the second installment was going to be pushed till May, and then so I'm taking this wrong because now we're asking a big ask to double up 2 installments on April 29th, which is when the people might be more affected as moving forward. So some people right now have not been affected, but by the time the end of the month comes, could be the potential where now you're asking for a double whammy. So anyways, it's something that could be revised, but I was under the impression that both first 2 installments were offset by a month. So my mistake on that.
No, that's okay. And like I said, the reason for that is we have payments due to the counties and the SCORDs. They've delayed it till the end of April. That's where we currently sit. So we need to have those due dates on April 29th. That's in line with all the other townships. And our county payments due, I believe, April 30th. So if that due date gets extended, then we can take a second look for sure.
Thank you.
Would it be appropriate that we ask Carly to provide us with an update at the April meeting on the 14th or the 12th, whatever, and we can evaluate that then, and we can go ahead and address this, but it certainly can be amended if council supports that it needs to be addressed, and she may have a pulse by then, and we may know more about the impact of what we're facing in 2 weeks' time as well. Is that fair?
Yes, I can do that.
I'm assuming, Mr. Mayor, that this will be a sort of a precedent throughout Eastern Ontario. So we won't be the only ones making that call. So let's have a look at it mid-April.
Thank you. So I'd like to call the vote then, please. So Deputy Mayor Laundrie, right now what we're saying is essentially that we're doubling up and we're asking for them to be in by the end of April. Are you okay to support that?
Yes.
Councillor Densham?
Yes.
Councillor Douglas?
Yes.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes.
It's carried. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we're to the point of the meeting where if I haven't put them to sleep in the last 2 hours, are allowed to have some input. And Mike St. Onge is going to coordinate that. Is this right, Nancy? And I'm going to do my best as mayor to answer all of the questions. And the protocol is that your name, pose your question like you would on any other night, and I'll do my best to answer it. So, are we okay to go?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Mike, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're in the audience and you would like to pose a question, please unmute your microphone by pressing *6. And then once you unmute your microphone, I can see that, and I will call the last 2 or 3 digits of your phone number. And if that is your phone number, then it is your turn to ask a question. So please, if you have a question for the mayor, please press *6 to unmute your microphone.
Is now exiting.
You can just one at a time. Mike, do you want to just clarify that they need to do this one at a time, otherwise they're going to have too much distortion. Just one unmuted at a time.
Through the chair, Mike St. Oge was going to call out the last 2 digits of each phone number so we can control the access, provide anybody with an opportunity to speak. So Mike, can you start if you can see any unmuted numbers, please?
So far, nobody has unmuted their microphone. Did you get that? So far,
Ruby
nobody has.
Mecker is now exiting.
Hello?
Can't hear anybody on my end here. Mike, do you want to just go over that one more time on how this process works, that they need to do *6?
Yeah, sure. So,
Mike, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can. I can hear you. And so if anybody has a question for the mayor, please press *6 to unmute the microphone.
Center. Please enter a conference ID followed by pound.
Is now joining. You've been muted. To unmute yourself, press *6. You're no longer muted.
Welcome to the audio conferencing center. Please enter a conference ID followed by pound.
Hello?
Is now exiting.
Okay. Okay. We have somebody. 8284. The last 3 digits of your phone number.
Nelson Zamber, Station Valley News.
Yes, Nelson.
Yeah, I was just curious, Jim, if you had an update on the wind turbine project. I know you said last time that it was April the 17th. They had some court date planned, but does that mean that they've been shoved even further down the line now with, I guess so, right? The courts have been closed.
I'm speculating on this, Nelson, but we haven't had anything since that last update, and given the COVID situation, I wouldn't be surprised, but we don't have any formal position that it's been bumped back further.
Right. Okay, and I was looking for clarification on the 1%. Is that a 1% rise in the levy or 1% for the average household?
The actual bill rate will drop, but we're proposing a 3% increase based on assessment. So the assessment has gone up about 7 points. But Nelson, if you could give the office a call in the morning, we'll issue a statement if that helps.
Okay, that'll be great. Thanks.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other comments, Mike? Have we got anybody else?
I don't see any unmuted microphones other than the gentleman that just spoke.
Okay, I'd like to move on then, please. So,
you've been muted.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 21-2020 being no bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its special meeting of April 1st, 2020 be read the first, second, and third times passed, signed, and sealed in open council this first day of April 2020. Councillor Villeneuve, would you move that for me?
2 participants are now joining.
Are you, Mr. Mayor, just a question before that.
Ruby Mecker.
Question period reserved to council
is
members.
now exiting.
Question period for council.
Hello?
Sorry, did I miss that? Okay, sorry, yep.
Yeah, no, Mr. Mayor, I'm just questioning on question 9, question period reserved to council members. Do we have an opportunity there before we move to that bylaw?
Certainly, I'm sorry I missed that, but yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. So I just have the one question. With respect to Mr. Calder's appointment as CAO, does his salary get affected at all with that appointment, or does it remain the same until we have his performance review?
No, it doesn't change. But
So it
bear in
remains
mind,
the same?
yes, bear in mind that we hope to address that fairly shortly, okay? Because as Steve mentioned, he's got that just about finalized, and it'll be coming before council. And the 6-month period that we agreed to originally has certainly been served, so that will be a topic for discussion.
So that's obviously one of the closed items I was referring to at the beginning of the meeting. We have other closed session items that need to be discussed, but this is definitely one of them.
Okay. Did you have a further question?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Anybody else, Deputy Mayor, any questions, or Councillor Densham or Douglas, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Hearing none, then, sorry, I'll reread the closing bylaw. So be it resolved that bylaw number 21-2020 being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its special meeting of April 1st, 2020 be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and sealed in open council this first day of April 2020. Councillor Villeneuve, would you move that?
Yes.
Seconder, Councillor Douglas?
Yes, a second.
So again, from the top, Deputy Mayor Landry in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Densham?
Yes.
Councillor Douglas?
In favor.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's passed, and we have one last one. I must comment that every time I see a fairly short agenda, I tend to think that we're going to cruise through it very quickly, and once again, I got bit. But I'd like to thank council for their patience, and I thought it went very well. And Mike, if you're still on there, thanks for coordinating this, and Nancy Ann, and given the challenges, I think it went very well. So be it resolved that this special meeting adjourn at 8:30 p.m., moved by Councillor Densham. Would you move that for me?
Yes, I move.
Deputy Mayor Landry, would you second?
Second.
Is now exiting.
In favor, Councillor Villeneuve?
Unknown participant is now exiting.
Yes, but I have a question with respect to the next meeting, Mr. Mayor, before you close.
Okay, let's take this vote and then we'll address that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Douglas?
In favor.
Councillor Densham?
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Landry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ruby,
Carried. Councillor Villeneuve, your
is now
question?
Exiting.
First of all, comment, Mr. Mayor, congratulations. You did very well for your first teleconference meeting. It's not easy, I'm sure, but it went fairly smoothly. So congratulations and thank you to Mike St. Onge as well. But for our next meeting, which is scheduled for, is it next week, I believe? I don't have it in front of me.
No, it's the 14th.
Are we going to do it via teleconference again?
Well, I think we're on a need-to-know basis sort of going forward. We're getting updates every day in regards to where we're at. I would speculate that we do, but I think we have some time to confirm that. I do know that it's easier if we could do this in person.
Unknown participant
but I
is
think
now
that
exiting.
in a week's time, we'll have to make that decision.
That's why, Mr. Mayor, that's why the government passed that legislation so that we can do this during an emergency situation. So,
well, I mean, if it's going to be, continue to be the situation we're in with this COVID challenge, I'm certainly that we're going to do this again. I'm just saying that it's fairly fluid right now, and I think in a week or 10 days' time, we're going to have a better idea exactly what we're up against.
Thank you.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.